Hi, Bernhard.
Hi, Carsten.
This will be the grand finale, yeah?
Yes, it's going to be interesting. So,
What do we do?
yes, we do the unplanned stuff. So, the unplanned outage, the disaster, right? And first, we'll kick it off with a node failure, right? So, I think we are shutting down one node. Maybe not so cool, or maybe blue screen
Not
would be
shutting
cooler, but
down. We do a blue screen, my friend. Shut down
okay, good. So,
would be a
we'll really,
planned, right?
yes.
Kind of planned. Blue
Okay.
screen.
Okay, our portion of blue this day. Okay, good, which is good. And then we'll, see how long it takes before the cluster picks it up, before the virtual machines that have been running on that node are sort of um, put into production again or put into work again on another
Mhm.
node. See how that behaves, and then I think we'll, start up the node one more time, have a look for its repair jobs. And once that's cleaned out and everything is okay again, then we'll do the failure of a whole site. That means we are crashing two nodes and then in the same site and see how that performs.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and I think that's it, right? It's going to be an interesting session.
A
Obviously, we
long
do
one.
this at the end of the whole series because if we
Yes.
break anything, we'll, you know, stop it here.
We
But
will not
let's
break
see. No,
anything.
okay.
Yes. The thing is better than we think. So
Yeah, yeah, it's
I
good. Oh, good.
share my screen now.
Mm-hmm.
Here you see we have our VM workload running. We are creating roughly 14,000 8K IOPS on every node. So
Yep.
um, we have a mild workload running.
Mm-hmm.
Our volumes are aligned, yeah, to every node. So we switch over to our management host. Here
Mm-hmm.
we see our cluster. All the nodes are here.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And here we have one VM running. So in one
Yep.
VM, we also started the task manager while the workload is testing everything. And we
So
see
with
we
with
have our
aligned you
writes and
mean
reads. Yeah.
that this virtual machine is currently number 7 is running on node number 1,
Mhm.
and node number 1 is also owning the storage or the volumes where the disk is that this virtual machine is writing to, right? So
Exactly.
that's okay. Okay, good.
So to do some fun stuff, we will blue screen node 3.
Okay.
See here, because node 1 and node 3 are in the odd side, and in the last video we
Mm-hmm.
recognized that our collect volume that we need for our workload, it's not stretched. So our VM
Mm-hmm.
workload, VM fleet is only running if they can access the collect volume, and this is in the even side. So we will
Okay.
crash the odd side this
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
And you see here, I have the BMC of one of those nodes. We use that heavily in the installation series. We were a lot
Mm-hmm.
in the BMC,
Okay.
and I installed a little funny program called "Not My Fault." It is from Mark Kozinovic, and you find it on the This Internal
Mm-hmm.
site. It's a site from Microsoft. Microsoft bought Win Internal and This Internal, and Marko Zinovic. Some of you know him maybe as a CTO, so the Chief Technology Officer of Azure. So, but he has also done some fun stuff, and this thing is has a kernel mode driver, and we can do weird things. So I guess this is for system programmers, operating system programmers, to test different scenarios, weird scenarios like memory leaks or some hang status or even crashes. And this one, the high ERQ fault kernel mode, this is a blue screen. So when I press on crash, we will have a blue screen on the node, and we should see here
Yep.
the blue stuff. Yeah.
Do it.
Do it. Come on, do it now. So
Yeah.
let's see. I
Yes.
move this a bit over,
Mm-hmm.
and I lost my window again because it's not on the host. It should be this one. Yeah, there it is. So I press on crash, and I see a weird sound. So I pressed on crash. It takes
Yeah.
a bit before we see the blue screen here, unfortunately. So come on, this is not the mouse in the program. Yeah, it's still there somehow. Let's do a crash again. Come on, crash it. That's weird, but it will crash. There we are. So it's crashing, and I turn it off now because that it doesn't start automatically. So now we turned off the host. I move it over, yeah, and you see here power off. So let's see the cluster. Let's look at the nodes. The cluster has not recognized that get cluster node, that the node is gone, but our cluster PowerShell already has.
Mhm.
You see here down. So let's do a refresh. And we see now
Mhm.
that our node is not down, like it's stated in PowerShell, it's isolated. And
Mhm.
we will talk about this isolated stuff soon, yeah?
Mhm.
Uh, and you also see this VM is unmonitored. It's not restarting. So if we go to the roles here,
Mhm.
normally, so the management has a bit of problems in the moment to remotely talk to the cluster, but here you see our nodes. Some we see unmonitored.
Mhm.
Let's do a refresh. Now we see running. And here all that is running on the node 3 is unmonitored.
Mhm. Okay.
So should we explain what that means?
Yes, definitely, because we do have people that might be new to failover clustering or HCI, right, and haven't seen this or need some explanation on this one. And it also it's like the way of how the cluster is configured, right? So you are bringing up the configuration for the
Mhm,
heartbeat. So there are some settings that are there um, that influence the the heart beating process and how to figure out when a node goes down, when should we act as a cluster, when how because sometimes the network in between is sort of maybe not so stable, and it would not be advisable to react maybe quite or simultaneously, right, when missing some heartbeats. But that are the default settings you bring up here, right? So we say in the same subnet, we are sending out with a delay of 1000 milliseconds a heartbeat, right? So
mhm,
every second there is a heartbeat,
mhm,
and we are allowed to lose 10 heartbeats before we react, right?
mhm,
As we do have a stretch cluster, we do have also a different setting for the cross subnet delay, which is sitting for the other nodes on the other side, which is we are sending out the heartbeats in the same interval, meaning 1000 milliseconds equals 1 second, but we are allowed to lose 20 of those before
mhm.
we need to act. Okay. However, that's for the isolation, right? So that figures out, when a node needs to, when a cluster node needs to be isolated. Um, but the second value that you bring up is different, right? It is for a different purpose.
Yeah. So first, the heartbeat is that the nodes recognize there's something wrong. There's one node missing, and
Yeah.
if this time is up, this time or this time, depending on the scenario, the cluster will do something. So, for example, there are some cluster groups and roles in the cluster that will be started immediately, like the host server. The
Yep.
host server is our management endpoint. Yeah, so it will be there after 10 seconds if the cluster is in the same site. So not a stretched cluster, and after 20 seconds if it's not in the same site, we can manage our cluster again.
Mhm.
So, and this is how the cluster behaved until 2016. So, with Windows Server 2016, Microsoft introduced also the resiliency default period. What we see
Mhm.
here,
Yep.
our nodes are they are not the VMs are not started on another node as we would expect after the heartbeat figures out. So there's something wrong with the node.
Mhm.
But Microsoft decided to add a value and in this time in 240 seconds that are added
Mhm.
after the cluster has figured out there's something wrong with the node, I can't reach it, it will give it the resiliency default period of 240 seconds, waiting that the node is appearing again.
Mhm.
So the scenario would be the node hasn't have a blue screen. We have a problem in the network, and the heartbeat can't reach the other side. Yeah?
Mhm.
So we don't shut down the VMs on the side that has not the cluster quorum and start the
Mhm.
VMs on the side that has the cluster quorum. We wait an additional time that our network comes back again. Yeah? This is maybe useful if you really have a stretch cluster scenario. For example, the metro cluster where we talked about, where we have a long distance between the two cluster sites. And usually, if you have a long distance, remember our example, London, Paris, yeah, you usually have only one way through the network to reach the other side.
Mhm.
So if there is a problem on that way, switch is rebooting, you have dark fiber and the switch is rebooting or whatever, the nodes are perfectly fine, but they can't see each other. So this additional time is a good thing here.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
a
So
cluster,
yeah,
yeah,
as said, I mean, it's a resiliency thing. So, over the whole story regarding failover clustering, it was sort of, yeah, came up as a best practice, right? Because some things can happen and you don't want to have the cluster to react so heavy or so strict, right? So you softening the
mhm,
behavior of the cluster a little bit in order to,
yeah, but
uh,
but what the people have to know, this
mm,
is in every cluster. So also, if you have a cluster that is in the same site,
right.
the servers are touching each other. We have multiple ways. We have our management network over other switches than our storage networks, or we have switchless, for example. If you don't know what I mean here, please rewatch our installation series. There are multiple ways for the heartbeat, and the heartbeat is not going over one network; it's going over multiple ones. So
Yeah.
usually, if you can't reach the heartbeat can't reach a running node, you have
Mm,
other problems in this scenario than this one. So
mm,
um, think about it, modifying this parameter if you have a non-stretch cluster where everything is in the same site. And
mhm,
even if you have a stretch cluster like we have here, where we have multiple ways, we can go over management, different switches. We can go over the
mm,
cluster networks. They are routed, different
mhm.
switches.
Yep.
Yeah, so the heartbeat has multiple ways over different switches. So if side A can't reach side B, or the even side can't reach the odd side,
Mm.
all network paths are gone, and it should usually not happen.
Yeah,
So
so rule of thumb would be, have multiple ways, multiple network paths for the heartbeat, right? If set
exactly.
up, watch out for heartbeat losses, right? These are never good, right? So you need to have a look in there. And then if you are, if start with the defaults, but you may fine tune it on the course of action when you see, hey, some behavior I need maybe to be a little bit more responsive. I know that my network is a very stable one. Then you might need to, or you can maybe adjust some settings to go to lower values. Or if the network is, not so good, then you might want to raise the numbers a little bit in order to be more resilient, right?
Exactly. So I just started the node again because it
Hmm.
takes a bit of time until it
Right.
comes up. But if we look here in our
Right.
failover cluster manager, now after the 240 additional seconds, the node
Hmm.
is declared down. It was
Hmm.
isolated, but now it's
Right.
down.
Hmm.
And then the cluster will move VMs or will start the VMs on other nodes. And in our
Hmm.
example, if we look at the roles, you
Hmm.
see here some of the VMs were started
On
on
four,
node 2, on node 4,
four.
and I
Yep.
don't see, do I see node 1 here? No, I don't see node 1 here. So he started all the VMs on the other side. So let's see if our replication switch, that would be unusual, of
Yeah.
course. Bernhard is laughing. I know
Yeah.
why. So let's open Windows Admin Center and the storage replica. If we switch the replication, that would be unusual. Yeah. So let's see. But we have seen the VMs are running. I opened one
At
of the
least the
VMs.
workload is up and running, which is a good
The
thing, right?
workload is up and running again. So if
Hmm.
you see here, I have one of the VMs that are usually running on 3, and they were running on 3. I have
Right.
it open here.
Hmm.
It's working. It's
Yep.
creating traffic. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's see here. And
Yeah.
the volume 1 is still replicating from 1 to 2, but
But you need to look at volume 3, right? So
yeah,
because
this
the
one.
virtual machine's on and it's switched.
It switched, so it switched the volume.
Hmm.
It's not a problem.
No.
Yeah, it's okay. It switched the volume and it restarted also the VMs on the other side, on the even side. So I didn't expect that. I was pretty sure that node 1, as is in the odd side, would also um, be chosen for the replication source to the other side, but the cluster decided to switch the replication for volume
Hmm.
4. Volume 1 is still on the odd side, and we will change that, of course. Yeah. So
Yep.
let's our host come up properly. Not probably, so properly. Properly is the right word. So it should be here.
Yeah.
No, it's still down. Let's see where our console is. And we do this live, right? So this is the wrong one. This is
Yep.
the wrong node. I have another one. I always choose the wrong one. It's like Murphy.
Hmm.
You always choose the wrong one. So the node is up and running again, node
Hmm.
3.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It
The
will take some
cluster,
time before it joins or
yeah,
will join, or maybe it's a
yeah, it's up.
yeah,
The
it's a
failover cluster
refresh.
manager. If it's
Hmm.
running on another host, it has this, it doesn't automatically sometimes refresh the screen. Now it
Hmm.
is.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
we will have to do some things. First,
Yep.
we
Which
look for the
is,
repair jobs, right?
yes, do this and also, do a um, how it was before, like reinitiate the
Yeah,
previous
we will
state where
switch the
we
site. Yeah, we will move
switch
the
the
VMs.
replication over again. Okay,
Yeah,
now that's good.
we will do
So,
that. So it takes a while. Maybe
mhm,
this part will be speed up a bit
mhm,
because we have to repair everything.
okay.
Yeah, but first let's see the repair jobs. I can take the time to prepare the host again so that we can do a blue screen again.
Hmm.
To log in.
You love that blue screen stuff. I mean,
Yes,
the easiest thing would be just to shut the hosts down, right, or power them off. But
power off would be easy. Shutdown would be
yeah,
initiate.
not
Yeah,
graceful stuff, right?
yeah.
And that's not what you want to have, right? But yeah,
So
okay.
I start. So how's the repair jobs going? So here's the host is prepared again for a blue screen. The repair jobs are nearly finished, right? That's good.
So let me ask you one thing, if you have, if I can have your attention.
You have.
Would you work with affinities in a stretch cluster scenario? I'm not quite sure if we have touched this, but I think
Yes, I
I
would.
would. I
Yeah,
would. Um, can
me
we
too.
can we have a look at the virtual machines? I mean,
Yes.
I'm not quite sure if VMfleet does set the affinities. I don't think so, right?
Yeah, do you mean affinity and anti-affinity, or do you mean that we pin our VM, the start of the VM, to a special node? I would not use this one, but I would
Mm,
use the affinity rule. So
yeah,
if you mean this one,
yeah.
properties, we have for a cluster resource for some roles or most roles,
Mm,
we can say where we like to have this role
yeah,
running.
yeah.
Yeah? And VMfleet does that.
Mm,
So it says all the VMs with the host name 3 in it, yeah,
mm,
should preferably run on 3.
yeah.
Yeah? So they I don't like this because this is micromanagement, right? So you
Mm.
can decide if you have the state, if you look at the cluster now today, you
Mm.
have your numbers of VMs. You can say, I want to order them, this VM there, this VM there, and everything is fine. But then
Yeah.
you get new VMs and you
Yep.
have to rethink everything. Yeah? And I usually have the opinion if you have to do something like that,
Hmm.
yeah, you shouldn't have to do that, and you really don't have to. So this I wouldn't
Hmm.
use, but
Okay.
VMfleet is very very
It's an old tool, right? It was.
yeah, no, yeah, but also the new one, the PowerShell module does the
Mm.
same, right? We deployed it with the PowerShell module.
Right.
um, it
But
wants
I,
to
yeah.
have everything sorted out very precisely, right? So the
Mm.
volume should be presented on the node where the VMs are running and so on, and I wouldn't do that.
Hmm.
The other thing I like in a stretch cluster, and we didn't talk about that either, is the affinity or anti-affinity rules.
Hmm.
Huh? So we have them here in the settings, and we click on affinity rules.
Hmm.
So let's assume we have an application that is running in multiple VMs. Yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe you would like to have the application running on the same server because your network is bad. So you
Yep.
have a SQL server and you have a SharePoint front end, and you want to have them running on the same server because if one of the parts is not running, the whole application is not running. So it doesn't matter if they are on the same host or if they are different hosts, right? So you can have a together here.
Hmm.
You can choose two VMs here.
Yeah.
Say these are our two VMs, and we can say they are together, and we make a rule
Hmm.
same. So we say SharePoint
Whatever.
same server or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Hmm. Okay.
Usually you would have VMs where the application should not run on the same node because it's like
Fault,
Exchange, the
fault tolerance.
Exchange DAG, right?
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
have an high available Exchange server, and it two of them in
Mm.
VMs, and it would be not wise to have running them on the same node. So if the node
Correct.
fails, both
Yeah.
VMs are
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
So for that, we have the apart different
Hmm.
servers.
Hmm.
So we can guarantee, or the cluster will try to have them running on different servers. Yeah, and we
Hmm.
can even do different sites.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that would be so, and we can do multiple rules for the same server. So we can say they
Hmm.
should be on different servers, and then we do another rule with the same VMs on different sites. Yeah?
Hmm.
This I like. This I think is very useful. The
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's it is it would be also difficult from a management perspective, looking into failover cluster manager for every virtual machine, try to figure out where it's going to be or who is the preferred owner. I mean, you could do PowerShell on this one, but as you said, it's looks pretty much like micromanagement, right?
yeah.
Um, yeah.
And
No, that's
the
cool. Yeah.
cluster is working quite well without those things, but you can do that. If you have really a
Yeah.
reason for that, you can do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's look how our partnership is doing. It's quite okay again.
Mm-hmm.
So they are completely replicated. So
Mm-hmm.
three is so it's on the odd side is the three group,
Right.
and the one group is on one host on the odd side is the source.
Mm-hmm.
The second and fourth group is on the even side, right?
Looks
Okay,
good. Yeah.
looks good. We have to move our VMs, I
Mm-hmm.
guess.
Yep. So
So
if you want to, I mean, or yes, you can do this,
yeah, you have
or
something in you have something in
the PowerShell way for VM fleet would be move fleet, yes, and say distribute 0, and then fleet picks up
yeah,
where they.
let's do so I don't have to do all the work. Let's do VM
Yep.
fleet do the work for us, right?
Yep.
So it will assign the volumes
Mm-hmm.
correctly, or it
Mm-hmm.
will move the VMs. The CSVs are assigned correctly. It would
Yeah.
also reassign the
And
CSVs.
the cool thing is, I mean, we see now on the cluster 1 and cluster 2 network, the live migration traffic, how that's how we configured it, right? Or how
Yes.
you configured it.
Yeah, we did that. I was
No,
the keyboard monkey, but we did it, right?
yeah, I'm just decoration, in that.
That's not true, Bernhard. Okay,
That's
so it will move the VMs to the third node. This failed. Some are, yeah, they are all on the other side. So you are completely. Where's the live migration going? It's here, right? Oh, it's on the cluster network.
it's on the cluster network, so
Yeah,
that's
sometimes we see some gigabits, but the VMs are so small. They have
yeah.
1.7 gigabytes of memory.
Mm,
So there's more time initializing the live migration than really moving them. But you see here, sometimes we see some gigabits here. And as you teach me, I can click on the network card and see some spikes here, right?
yeah.
So it's done now.
hmm Okay,
So
cool.
everything should be aligned again. So let's
hmm
see all the VMs with a 3 from here on. We have all the nodes 3 here and
hmm
4 and so on. Everything is fine now. We have no storage repair jobs anymore. See them here.
All good.
Everything is fine. So should we play with the cluster resiliency? Should we set it on 20 to 20 seconds? Let's do that, right?
Yeah, that would be interesting because
Yeah.
4 minutes is quite a thing. I mean, we can cut the video a little bit or speed up the video, but yeah, let's do it.
I set it to 20 seconds. So we will recognize for 20 seconds, maybe if our failover cluster manager would do an update, we can recognize that there is a
Mhm,
node. Yeah. So we can have now a little bit of another thing. There is another value, and I want to be prepared for that. So if we do that and say FL star, not
mhm,
FLT, it's only FL star. There is um, another value. This is this one. Yeah.
mhm,
So quarantine threshold is set to 3. So if this node has a problem in an hour 3 times,
mhm.
yeah, and this is not the first time we shoot this video. So we had one crash already,
Yeah.
second crash we showed you, and now we do the third crash. It When the nodes comes back, it is possible that it's quarantined.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it's the third time in an hour that we have a crash. Maybe
Yeah.
the first crash was outside of the hour, we will see. And then the node will be in quarantine for 7,200 seconds. That's 2 hours,
Mhm.
I guess. Yeah, right. So when a node crashes all the time,
Mhm.
you should not put workload on it. And Microsoft honors this by this value. So 3 crashes
Yeah.
in 1 hour, then the node will not get workload for 2 hours. So you can play with these numbers. Maybe 2 hours is too short. If a node crashes so many times, I wouldn't like to have a workload on it um,
Mhm.
for longer than 2 hours, I guess. So only just to be prepared, when we start our node again, if we show that in this video, this could happen, right? There are
Mhm.
more
Yep.
values here.
Okay.
Okay, so now our workload is running. We have our nodes here.
Mhm.
I can do a get cluster node, prepare that. Here we have all our nodes up.
Mhm.
I can move our blue screen software over. This is one. This is a node 3. I prepared that again.
Mhm.
And here we have node 1.
Mhm.
We want to blue screen 2 nodes in the same site.
Mhm.
Okay?
Okay. Can you do me a favor?
Of course.
Um, let's can we have a look at definitely the virtual machines that are being executed on the nodes in the odd side will have an outage, right?
Yes.
They will die. However, I would love to have a look at the virtual machines running on the even side, if they are sort of affected at all, right? So will there be any write outages? So if you can click on this one and have a look at the storage output to see if there will be any effect at all.
So I have to prepare that. We go to task manager. Otherwise, we don't see it, right? We
Yep.
start as another PowerShell. We do a disk perf
Perf.
minus, not underscore, minus
Mhm.
It's a Y, a big one, right?
Yep.
So we close task manager and we get the task manager again. And
Mhm.
then we have our discounters. You wanted to see
Yeah.
the discounters,
Yeah.
I assume.
Yes.
So here we
That's it.
are.
Mhm.
So now the problem is how to put everything on the screen that we see stuff.
I
Huh?
think we will see the history. So if you come back to this, if there would be any outage, you would see a decline and pick it up
Yeah,
again. So let's see.
yeah.
But
So let's
that
go to the notes.
that'll do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Node 1 maybe, because we
Yeah.
can't show node 1 and 3 at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So, but now
Um,
again, I will blue screen the stuff. Let's see.
one thing
One more
before
thing.
maybe. Yes. So
What is it?
who's the owner of that cluster
You're
of the
right.
cluster
Who is
role?
the owner of the cluster? It's 4,
Four.
but so 4 will survive.
Yeah, which is, I think it's okay. I mean, it's for the usability of the failover cluster manager tool. It's cool to talk to the
Yeah, the
host that
chance is
is.
50-50 that one node, when a whole site fails, that the host
Yeah,
server or the core cluster resource is on one of
yeah,
those servers or not. So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
um, we could do that, but the problem is the remote management. If the host server fails, it has to be come up again so that we
yeah.
can do anything with failover cluster manager. And
No, I would leave it like this, right? So I
yeah,
trust that this is would work if it's on the failing side, but
it does. It does.
for the for visibility and for demonstration purposes, I think it's cool to have it already on the node that is surviving.
Yeah. So
Um,
should I crash the nodes?
Yeah, should I make a sound or what do you
Do a
want? Or
sound, please.
do you want to have the
Oh, that's evil. Okay, I will crash it now.
yeah?
I crash this one.
Hmm.
I crash this one. And we learned already, maybe sometimes maybe we have to. No, this is gone now. This should be gone now. They should be both gone. Let's wait until we see something. There should be something blue here very soon. Come on. Why is not something blue coming here? Yeah, there is a blue one. There should be the blue one too. I move them out.
Hmm.
I will stop them. I will turn them off so that
Hmm.
they don't start on themselves.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Here's our cluster nodes. We have our nodes.
Yeah.
Both nodes are still there.
And there is an outages, short outage on this one, right?
So let's see the cluster nodes.
Hmm.
It's hard
Well,
to put everything on the screen.
yeah.
So clusters. Yeah, we have now a little bit of confusion in the cluster. Here you see the PowerShell is not. I was on the one.
Hmm.
Stupid of
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
So
Yeah,
this
okay.
one died, but the
Let's
virtual
see
machine. What
here.
about its writing?
Yeah, there was an outage.
There was an outage. Okay.
Yeah, but
Cool.
that's expected. In my part, it's expected
Okay.
because let's see if the cluster is. We have to press a refresh.
Hmm.
Yeah, now both are
Okay.
down, so they are
Yep.
not isolated anymore. They are down, and our roles.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the management is a bit. Yeah, loading. This is that two remote desktop sessions will die.
Hmm.
Had that already. So it's not showing what the VMs are doing in the moment,
Hmm.
but it will come back. Yeah.
Okay.
So here our disk is running. There was a small outage. That is normal. If there is heavy problems in the storage layer, it will
Right.
take a moment. Yeah, but here,
Yeah, and it's like this, right? So I mean, the replication should also pick up that that it can't reach the other side. So every write that needs to be acknowledged, there will be no acknowledge because there is no one that can acknowledge back.
yeah.
So
Let me
yes,
start
and I think
another
it's
PowerShell.
before the cluster will pick it up again. I think it is some sort of outage is expectable, right? But it's good to
Yeah.
see that the virtual machine doesn't die. It will survive. However, it needs to be a
Oh,
bit
it's
patient.
called PS.
What do you want to
No,
do?
I want to
Enter
go to the other.
ETSN, like enter PowerShell session. ETSN.
ETSN. I don't do that way. Usually I like to
Yeah.
write it out. So let's do a get storage job. I think
Mm,
we don't have storage jobs because one side is gone. Get VM. We should have a lot of VMs here.
mhm,
So this is still not very helpful. This is running. Where is this running? This is one of the third one. Yes, it's open. I opened this one.
mhm.
And if I press this, there should be something happening. There is one of the one nodes.
Yep. And
Let's
failover
close
cluster
this.
manager in picks it up.
Yeah, now we have here, you see, the
Hmm.
ones are, some are running, not all of them.
Yep.
From this 3.1, some are running, not all of them. We have to
Mm-hmm.
wait a bit if he
Hmm.
starts everything. Yeah.
Hmm.
So this, for example, not this. This, for example, should be running. That's 008.
Hmm.
It takes a while, I guess. So I can close some here. There's a 008. It's running. It's creating data.
Hmm.
And we have a task manager here, but we don't have the disk numbers,
Hmm.
but we see it's working, right? So the others we have to wait.
Yeah. And it might also be, um, I mean, failover cluster manager is not, as far as I know, no real-time tool, right? Which
No.
is,
Okay, this is connected.
Mhm.
It's okay. I close some windows because it's crowded here. So we see our VMs here. They are
Hmm.
all running.
Hmm.
At least some are running here.
Hmm.
Yeah. So let's do a refresh here.
Hmm.
So you see now the ones are running.
Hmm. Okay.
The VMs from the third one are running. We have
Hmm.
144 roles, so there are not roles missing.
Hmm.
Yeah. So everything seems. Let's look at this one. We see here in the preview there is
Hmm.
our VM fleet running. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, that's fine.
Sounds
We
good.
can have a look at the second host. There we have our watch cluster tool. You see here we have no IO on the first and on the third node because they are off. They had a blue
Yep.
screen. They're
Hmm.
gone.
Hmm.
I can start them again soon,
Hmm.
and we also see in the storage bus layer no traffic there. So everything is here, and
Hmm.
we have 28,000 IOPS. So we had 14,000 per node, and now we
Hmm.
have the double the IOs
Hmm.
on the two nodes here. So we have still our 56,000. Yeah?
Hmm.
So the VMs are running on the two nodes. So we have half of our cluster is gone.
Hmm.
But the workload is running. Let's see here. The partnership is not updated. We have to do
Hmm.
that. It takes always a long time to reload this. But the cluster has done its job. It's switched. We have the
Hmm.
VMs working. So if the VMs are working, the volumes are presented on the other side, the cluster shared volumes, and you see that here. We have some problems to show it, but our replica one volume is now somewhere
Yes.
here.
Hmm. So
We
they
have a
have
bit
been.
problems with the management from
Okay,
this
so
node.
another question I have is, this is the time now when we are writing to the log files, right? Or
Yes,
where the log file is tend to grow because we can't
we can't
flush
replicate them. Yeah.
the log file data to the other node. So um, that is the time when the log file is getting very important, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have 150 gigabyte log files. I recreated the
Hmm.
volumes with larger log files even.
Hmm.
So you see here we have 160 megabytes are written here on the two nodes
Hmm.
per second.
Hmm.
So our log files should have enough space to
Hmm.
to fill up, right? So, but if our log file flow over, so if the 150 gigabytes are
Yep.
due, and it's less, so there is
Hmm.
some space left, then it has to synchronize the whole volume again.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
the log file, it can transfer the log file and replay it, like
Hmm.
in other technologies, SQL Server and so on. You have
Right.
also, but if they are overflow, we have to synchronize the whole volume. So if the outage takes some days, maybe,
Hmm.
um, the synchronization will start again. Yeah?
So in that time frame, the workload will be still running, but
Yeah,
I have the resiliency of only one side. So if now something
exactly.
goes wrong, I need to go back to my backups, but because there is no replication and log file is full, and I need to do the resync from scratch. Okay, got it.
I start here again. Let's see
Hmm.
if we can get some decent information from the cluster.
Hmm.
Yeah, it has some management problems, but yeah, you see, hang on. I love
Yeah,
it. Hang on.
yeah,
Should I
yeah.
start the other nodes, or should
Yeah,
we wait a bit?
no, start them up. Or yes, I mean,
Here's one.
and see how the repair job or how long
Here's
it
the
would
other
take.
one. That will take a while. I move them out of the picture
Hmm.
because full HD is so we you see here it needs attention. There's something wrong. Also, the registration seems to be problematic in the moment, but I want to go to the replica and see if we can now read it correctly. And we have to prepare some PowerShell. We are here on the second one. So let's say a do, or do I have it already? No, I don't have it. Do. So you see here, yeah, it has some problems to read the information. Yeah. So do, but it's working. So the VMs, the most important part, the VMs are working. Get storage job ft, and we will do get virtual disk ft, and we will do a sleep 5. We will do a while 1. So this is like an endless loop that shows us the storage jobs. These are no, we don't have storage jobs in the moment because storage jobs will appear if the other two nodes come up. They have their own. There you
Pool.
see it. They have
Hmm.
their own pool, and
Yeah.
this pool is not okay. So you
Hmm.
see everything that's on the other side. Yeah, we
Hmm.
have here the jobs for that, and here you see the volumes of the other side are degraded incomplete. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it will repair now the other side. I see the two nodes are up and running. I can show that here. Here's one,
Hmm.
and here's the other with a bigger screen. Yeah.
Hmm.
Both are there again, and we will not blue screen them again. I promise. In service, and
Hmm.
there are our repair jobs running. So
Hmm.
this will go quite fast, and but we will then. You see, now we have some more information. Even now that we have a block copy running, you
Hmm.
see here how many gigabytes it has to copy.
Hmm.
Yeah. So now we have some useful information here. Not all
Okay.
of it is useful, but this is. And we see now that the repair or the repair jobs of the volumes are running.
Hmm.
Yeah. And the replication is syncing or resyncing again.
Hmm.
So it will be, let's say, give it some minutes, and the cluster will be okay. But the workload and the volumes are still presented in one side. So we have now
Hmm.
like an active passive scenario, right? All the VMs
Hmm.
are running in one side, all the volumes are online in one side,
Hmm.
and we have to do something. As far as I think, we have to actively move the VMs
Yep.
to the other side and switch the replication side. I don't think the cluster will do that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, the question is how long should we wait? Usually some processes will not start immediately, so it will take maybe 15 to 30 minutes before something will happen. Yeah.
Mhm.
But we can still we can say bye to our people then and our watchers and still let it run. And if something happens, we can show it in the video. Or so you see here, this will be done. See, it has to repair a lot of stuff. Yeah, 33. Nothing is finished yet. Yeah, it will take a bit. Usually, if you resize PowerShell, it will also resize the output. The problem is I'm remote PowerShelled into the node, so it will not get the new window size. No? So if I can make it bigger here, it will not change anything. So now one is finished. The cluster performance history is done. The others are still copying. But we don't have the nice information here anymore, how far it's already done, right? So, and if we look here, we still have our workload running. Everything is fine. We have our VM running. Lots of them. So Bernhard, should we wait? So our storage repair jobs are
Approaching the end.
yeah, we have already 3 volumes are already repaired, and others are not so far away. We have some in the 90s and the
Mhm,
70s. So I give it another, let's say, 5 minutes.
mhm.
And then our storage is repaired. We can maybe have a look at our replication. You see here, it seems like we do a full initial sync. So we do a full sync here, but this
Mhm.
is also nearly done.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it repairs. It's not, let's say, some things are done that are maybe not expected. We would have large log volumes, yeah, with maybe the log file is not as large as the volume, so we
Mhm.
have maybe to have a look at that. But all overall, the cluster is behaving like expected. I'm quite happy with how it works. What is your opinion, Bernhard?
Yeah, I think management-wise, some things need to be known in order to get it done right, or to know where to look at, or where to pay attention to.
Mhm.
But I would say, yeah, it worked like a charm. So I remember when we were discussing about the video series, and how to do it, we were a little bit cautious or a little bit afraid of what will happen in this kind of video. But I think it went out very well. Um, so some final thoughts, Carsten.
Yeah, and to be correct, you were a little bit worried. I have done these tests at customers already, so I show them what happens if you turn off two nodes. And to be honest, nearly every time it really works like expected. So I'm quite happy with the stretch cluster scenario with two things I would like to have changed. Yeah, when I have wishes. So one thing would be improve the log performance. So it's not too bad with 2 milliseconds. Other synchronous replicating solutions also take time, but I would love to see a sub-millisecond latency from the log volume. Of course, it takes longer to write to two sides than to one side. We can't expect to have the same 0.34 milliseconds, bit longer, but sub-milliseconds would be nice. And for a campus cluster, so where the sites are very nearby, I would like to have a not so complex network scenario, because
Mhm.
most of the customers I'm working with, they have stretched VLANs on the same campus. They don't have to route usually they don't have to route the traffic because
Yeah.
um, the VLANs are stretched. So there would be a nicer, a not so complex scenario would be nice. Overall, with the behavior of the cluster, I'm fine. Yeah.
Mhm.
What would you say?
Yeah, similar things. So, make the performance better is definitely one thing. I think also having another vision for a campus sort of, or where you are the one that is controlling the network, where you are the one that is plugging in the networks, where you have full control over all the devices that are in between. I think an easier network setup would be a cool thing. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's, I think, it. I mean, for the people watching this until the end, hopefully this was a good overview. Um, and I think one of the key learnings that I had in when working with Stretch Cluster was that your sizing might be different, right? So don't expect that a stretch cluster can take as much load as a non-stretch cluster,
Mhm.
right? Because this is not the case, right? You have seen the performance implications at this stage, right? So um, you need to find the sweet spot, the sweet working spot on such a cluster. And there might be tunings still what you can do, right? I mean, would you want to replicate all of the write traffic of a virtual machine? What about, the page file that you may have? Does it really needs to be replicated over, right, to the other side as well? I know that this is getting complex if you tackle that, right? Because you would need to separate or have multiple disks on a virtual machine. One is sitting on a replicated volume, the other not. But there might be some things to be thought about. But at the end, I would say bottom line, I like that technology, although it has difficulties. I admit. I hope you like it too. Think about if you could use it, and let us know what you think.
Mhm. So I would add here, because now our replication is going on again. It's repaired, but of course still the source of all is now the even side. So we have to do some manual steps here. We have to change the replication for this was a wrong click. Let's go back. So we have to switch the replication again, and we have to move our workload over. But I think the workload would follow the 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 volumes. So here, let's do switch direction here. We have to do that again, and also with this one. Yeah, and then move our VMs to the side. This will not be done automatically, and maybe it's a good way that it's not done automatically. If maybe you fire up your cluster in the site where you had a failure, and you are not trusting the site. You want to prove things there, so maybe your workload is still good at the other side, and you want to decide when to move workload over again. Yeah. So, when we would have done that, I think this concluded a, a disaster scenario very well. So it behaves very well, and we are done with our series, Bernhard. I wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. What?
Yeah.
I don't think we will do a video series in this year. So maybe
No,
next year, but not in this year.
yeah. So same to you. It was a pleasure. Thanks for sharing the knowledge. thanks for you watching until now, and have a great day and take care. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.